What if the world's smartest mind once struggled to speak a simple sentence? What if the child who would change how we understand the universe was once sitting quietly, unable to answer when the teacher called his name? What if the thing you are most ashamed of right now is not your weakness, but the beginning of your strength? Imagine this. A small child sits in a classroom. Other children raise their hands. Their voices are loud, confident, fast. But this child stays silent. Not because he has nothing to say, but because his words come slowly, too slowly. The teacher waits. The room feels heavy. The silence becomes painful. Someone laughs. The child looks down. His heart beats faster. He feels different. Not good different, wrong different. At home, adults whisper, "Why doesn't he speak like other children? Is something wrong with him?" And inside the child's mind, a quiet fear begins to grow. Maybe I am not smart. Maybe I am broken. Maybe I will never be enough. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever stayed quiet because you were afraid to speak? Afraid of making mistakes? Afraid people would laugh at your accent, your grammar, your pauses? Have you ever felt slow while the world around you moved fast? This story is not about perfection. It is not about talent. It is not about being the best student in the room. This is a story about silence, about doubt, about being misunderstood. And it is about how a quiet, confused child, once labeled as slow, slowly discovered that his mind worked differently, not worse. This story is about how fear can become curiosity, how weakness can turn into power, and how silence can hide something extraordinary. But we will not say his name yet, because before the world knew him, before books were written about him, before his face appeared in classrooms and history lessons, he was just a quiet child trying to understand a world that did not understand him. The boy was quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, not the calm kind. It was the quiet that made adults uncomfortable. At home, he often sat alone. He watched the light coming through the window. He stared at moving shadows on the wall. He listened more than he spoke. Sometimes his parents asked him simple questions. "How was your day? What did you learn today?" The words stayed inside him. His mouth opened, then closed. Seconds passed, long seconds. His parents waited. They tried to smile, but worry slowly filled their faces. Other children spoke quickly. They told stories. They laughed loudly. They asked many questions. But this boy spoke late, very late. When he finally spoke, his sentences came out slowly, carefully, as if each word was heavy. At school, the classroom felt like a noisy storm. Chairs moved, books closed loudly, children talked over each other. And in the middle of it all, the boy sat still. The teacher asked questions. "What is the answer? Who knows?" Hands went up. The room filled with voices. The boy knew the answer sometimes. He really did. But his thoughts moved differently. They needed time. They needed silence. The teacher looked at him. "Speak," she said. The boy felt every eye turn toward him. His heart began to race. His hands felt cold. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. A few children laughed, not loudly, but enough. His face burned with shame. From that day, he learned something painful. Silence was safer. So he became quieter. During breaks, children ran and played. They shouted and chased each other. The boy stood near the fence. He watched ants walk in long lines. He noticed how leaves moved in the wind. He wondered why the sky changed colors. He had questions, big questions, but no one asked him. At home, nights were quiet too. He played alone. He took apart small objects. He looked inside clocks and toys. He wanted to know how things worked, not because someone told him to, but because he needed to know. Sometimes his mother watched him. She saw his focus, his deep concentration. But she also saw his silence, and silence can be scary for parents. Relatives spoke in worried voices. "He is different. He doesn't talk much. Is he slow?" The word hung in the air. Slow. The boy did not fully understand the word, but he felt its weight. At night he lay in bed. He listened to the quiet. His mind was not empty. It was full of pictures, full of questions, full of thoughts that did not yet have words. But the world did not see that. The world only saw a quiet child, a slow speaker, a boy who did not fit. And slowly, very slowly, the boy began to believe something dangerous. Maybe I don't belong. School became harder as the boy grew older, not because the lessons were impossible, but because the system moved too fast. Teachers expected quick answers, fast reading, fast writing, fast thinking. The boy was not fast. He needed time. One day, a teacher stood near his desk. Her face was tired. Her voice was sharp. "Why are you always behind?" she asked. "Why can't you learn like the others?" The classroom was silent. The boy looked at his book. The letters blurred together. I try," he whispered. The teacher sighed. "You are slow," she said. "Very slow." The word hit him like a stone. Slow. It was no longer a whisper at home. It was now a label at school. Written on report cards, spoken in meetings, shared between adults. This child struggles. He does not perform well. He is below average. Below average. The boy did not know what average meant, but he knew it was not good. His parents sat at the table at night, papers spread in front of them. They spoke softly. Maybe he needs special help. Maybe he will never succeed in school. The boy listened from the other room. Every word entered his heart. He began to watch other students closely. How quickly they answered, how easily they remembered, how confidently they spoke. He compared himself, and in every comparison he lost. Inside his mind a voice grew louder. "I am not smart. I am not like them. I will never be good enough." Exams were the worst. The clock ticked loudly. Other students wrote quickly. The boy stared at the paper. He understood the question, but his thoughts went in many directions. Time ran out. Again. When results came, his name was near the bottom. Some students smiled with pride. Others complained about small mistakes. The boy said nothing. A teacher once shook her head and said, "You will not go far if you continue like this." The future suddenly felt very small. No dreams, no hope, only fear. Fear of failure. Fear of being judged by the people around you. Fear of being called slow again. Labels are powerful. They do not stay on paper. They enter the mind. And once inside, they can change how a person sees themselves. The boy stopped raising his hand, stopped trying to explain, stopped believing his thoughts were important. Why speak when the world already decided who you are? But inside him, something still lived. A quiet curiosity, a deep need to understand. It was small, almost invisible, but it refused to disappear. As the boy grew older, the noise around him became louder. Expectations, comparisons, judgments. But inside him, there was only quiet, a heavy quiet. He walked to school each day with his head down. He avoided eye contact. He tried to become invisible, because being seen meant being tested, and being tested meant failing. At night, when the world finally slowed down, his mind woke up. Questions appeared, not spoken, not written, only felt. Why am I different? He stared at the ceiling. Why do others learn so fast? He turned on his side. Why does my mind feel full, but my mouth stays empty? His heart beat softly in the dark. Sometimes fear took over. What will happen to me? What kind of future waits for someone like me? Will I always be the slow one? The questions repeated again and again. At school, he watched teachers explain lessons. Their words moved quickly, too quickly. He understood parts, not all. When he asked questions, teachers looked surprised, sometimes annoyed. Didn't we already explain this? Why don't you understand? So he stopped asking. Silence became his shield. But silence has a price. Inside, doubt grew stronger. Maybe they are right. Maybe I am not meant to learn. Maybe my mind is wrong. He began to fear the future. Jobs, life, purpose, all felt far away, unreachable. One afternoon, he failed another exam. The paper felt heavy in his hands. Red marks, low numbers. He folded the paper carefully, as if hiding it could hide the truth. On his way home, he walked slowly. Every step felt like a question. What if I never succeed? What if this is all I will ever be? The boy did not cry, not because he was strong, but because he was tired. Tired of trying, tired of disappointing, tired of feeling less. Yet, in the middle of all this fear, something unusual happened. Instead of anger, instead of sadness, his mind wandered. He looked at light reflecting on the road. He noticed how shadows changed as he moved, and a question appeared. Not about school, not about grades, but about the world. Why does light move like that? It was a small question, a quiet one. But it felt different. It did not bring fear, it brought curiosity. The boy did not know it yet, but this silent question was the beginning of a turning point. Something slowly changed inside the boy. Not suddenly, not loudly, quietly. Fear was still there. Doubt was still there. But now, curiosity began to stand beside them. He started to notice things others ignored. The way light entered a room. How time felt different when he was thinking deeply. How simple objects could hide complex ideas. When lessons at school felt confusing, he did not force himself to memorize. Instead, he asked a different question. Why? Why does this work like this? Why does the world move this way? Why does time feel slow sometimes and fast at others? He did not ask these questions in class. He asked them in silence, at home, alone. He imagined himself riding on a beam of light, moving as fast as it could go. What would he see? Would time stop? Would the world look different? These thoughts filled him with energy. For the first time, his mind did not feel like a problem. It felt like a playground. While others followed rules, he explored ideas. While others memorized answers, He searched for meaning. He began to read, slowly, carefully. Not many books, but the right ones. Books that made him think. Books that asked questions instead of giving answers. Sometimes he read the same page again and again, not because he was slow, but because he wanted to understand deeply. Fear whispered, "You are wasting time." Curiosity replied, "I am learning in my own way." This was new. Instead of saying, "I am broken," he began to think, "Maybe I see the world differently." He stopped comparing his speed to others. He stopped racing. He chose depth over speed. At school, he still struggled. Grades did not suddenly improve. Teachers did not suddenly understand him. But inside, something strong was growing. Confidence, not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that comes from knowing yourself. When he failed, he no longer asked, "Am I stupid?" He asked, "What did I not understand yet?" And that one word, "yet," changed everything. Curiosity gave him patience. Patience gave him peace. He learned alone, in silence, in his own rhythm. And slowly, fear lost its power. The boy did not know where this path would lead, but for the first time, he was not afraid to walk it. The boy continued to fail in school. Not once, not twice, many times. His grades did not match his curiosity. His report cards did not show his thoughts. Because school measured speed, and his mind moved in depth. Teachers wanted correct answers. He searched for better questions. Because of this, problems followed. He did not fit the system, so the system pushed back. One day, he was told he could not continue at a certain school. His performance was not good enough. Rejection hurt. It always does. But this time, something was different. Instead of breaking him, it freed him. Because school rejection forced him to look elsewhere. He began to learn outside classrooms. He studied alone. He read what interested him. He thought deeply. Because he was not rushing for grades, he had time. Time to explore, time to question, time to connect ideas. Cause and effect became clear. When he learned slowly, he learned deeply. When he learned deeply, he remembered longer. When he followed curiosity, motivation appeared. He discovered something important. School success and intelligence are not the same. Some people shine in exams. Others shine in silence. Some minds move fast. Others move far. The boy stopped seeing failure as proof of weakness. He saw it as feedback. This method does not work for me. I need another way. So he created his own way. He studied in small pieces. He focused on understanding, not memorizing. He asked why before what. And because of that, ideas stayed with him. Slow learners, he realized, are often deep thinkers. They do not jump to answers. They build them. The world may not notice them early, but when it does, it is surprised. The boy still faced doubt from others, but inside, he felt calm. He no longer needed approval. He was learning, not to impress, but to understand. And that changed everything. Years passed. Quiet years. Patient years. The boy grew into a man. He was still not loud, still not fast, but his thoughts had become clear, strong, deep. Slowly, the world began to notice. Not because he chased attention, but because his ideas could not be ignored. He asked questions no one else dared to ask. He looked at old problems with new eyes.
time, space, light. Things others accepted, he questioned. At first, people were confused. This is strange. This is different. But different no longer meant wrong. It meant new. His ideas spread quietly, from one mind to another, from one paper to another. Respect replaced doubt. The same world that once called him slow now called him brilliant. But fame did not change him. He did not forget the quiet child, the silent classrooms, the painful labels. He remembered the loneliness, the fear, the silence, because those moments shaped him. They taught him patience. They taught him depth. They taught him humility. The man's name was Albert Einstein. But this story was never really about his name. It was about his journey. A journey from silence to understanding, from fear to curiosity, from doubt to purpose. And his success was not magic. It was not talent alone. It was the courage to think differently, to learn slowly, to trust his own rhythm.
Now, let me speak directly to you. Yes, you. If you are learning English and you feel slow, this story is for you. If you listen more than you speak, this story is for you. If your mind understands, but your mouth feels frozen, this story is for you. Maybe people have called you weak in English. Maybe they say your grammar is bad. Maybe they laugh at your pronunciation. Maybe you stay silent in class, in meetings, in conversations, because silence feels safer than mistakes. I want you to hear this clearly. Being slow does not mean being stupid. Taking time does not mean failing. Silence does not mean you have nothing to say. Just like Albert Einstein, you may be learning differently. When you learn a new word, you don't just memorize it. You feel it, you connect it, you understand it deeply. That is not weakness. That is depth. If you feel ashamed to speak English, remember this. Every fluent speaker you admire was once silent too. They were once afraid. They once made mistakes. They once felt embarrassed. The difference? They kept going. If people compare you to others, remember this. Speed is not the goal. Understanding is. Fluency is not about talking fast. It is about thinking clearly. If your English journey feels lonely, you are not alone. Right now, millions of learners around the world are walking the same slow path, and slow paths can lead to powerful places. You don't need perfect English. You need honest English. You don't need confidence first. Confidence grows after practice. So if today you only understand a little, that is progress. If today you only say one sentence, that is progress too. If today you are silent but listening, that is progress too. Einstein was silent, and the world waited. Your voice matters too. Now that we understand the journey, let's turn inspiration into action. You can learn English slowly, deeply, and effectively, just like Einstein learned the world. Here are 5 key methods. 1. Change your identity. Stop saying, "I am bad at English." Start saying, "I am learning English." Words shape your mind. When you call yourself a learner, every mistake becomes a step forward. When you call yourself slow, you honor your pace, your natural rhythm. Mindset is everything. Believe in your journey. not in comparisons. 2. Daily speaking habit. Talk to yourself every day. Describe your surroundings. Narrate your morning or evening routine. Example, I am making tea. I see steam rising. The cup is warm. Speak slowly, clearly, and without judgment. Your goal is not perfection, it is practice. Even 1 minute daily is better than no practice. 3. Learn like Einstein. Ask why, not just what. Why does this word exist? Why does this grammar rule matter? Why do native speakers say it this way? Instead of memorizing lists, connect meaning to real life. When you feel curiosity, learning becomes enjoyable, not forced. 4. Listening routine. Listen for 15 to 30 minutes daily. Use slow English stories, podcasts for learners, audiobooks with transcripts. Listen actively. Repeat sentences aloud. Notice pronunciation, intonation, and new words. Listening builds understanding and prepares you to speak naturally. 5. Fear-free practice. Mistakes are progress. Silence is part of learning. Speaking slowly is okay. Every learner stumbles. Every fluent speaker started small. Do not fear laughter or judgment. Your effort is more important than approval. Small daily plan. Example, 10 minutes listening, 10 minutes repeating sentences aloud, 10 minutes speaking alone or writing thoughts. Repeat daily, adjust as needed. The key is consistency, not speed. Remember, deep understanding comes from patience. Curiosity will guide you when fear tries to stop you. Learning English slowly does not mean you are behind. It means you are learning your way, intentionally, meaningfully, and for life. Now, let's make everything simple and practical. Learning English does not need many books, many apps, or many hours. It needs a clear routine and patience. Here is a daily 30-minute routine you can follow, even if you are busy. Daily 30-minute English routine. 10 minutes listening. Choose one slow English story. It can be from this channel, English SpeakCast. Just listen. Do not stop the audio. Do not translate every word. Let your brain get used to the sound of English. 10 minutes repeating. Now listen again. Pause after one sentence. Repeat it aloud. Speak slowly. Copy the rhythm. Copy the emotion. This builds pronunciation and confidence. 10 minutes speaking alone. Now speak freely. Talk about what you heard, what you felt, what you learned. You can speak to yourself, a mirror, or your phone for voice recording. No pressure, no correction, just expression. Weekly focus plan. Monday, vocabulary in context. Learn words from the story, not from a list. Tuesday, pronunciation. Repeat difficult words slowly. Wednesday, speaking confidence. Tell the story in your own words. Thursday, listening only. Relax and listen without effort. Friday, review. Repeat your favorite sentences. Weekend, enjoy English. Watch a short video or listen casually. How stories help you learn English. Repeat words naturally. Show grammar in real life. teach emotion, not rules. When you learn through stories, English becomes human, not mechanical. Just like Albert Einstein learned through curiosity, you learn English through meaning. Slow learning builds strong foundations. Fast learning often breaks. So trust the process. Trust your pace. You are not late. You are becoming. So let us return to the question we asked at the beginning. What if the world's smartest man was once called slow? Now you know the answer. He was. He was misunderstood. He was silent. He was doubted. And yet, he changed the way we see the universe. Not by speaking faster, not by learning like everyone else, but by trusting his own way of thinking. Albert Einstein's silence was not emptiness, it was depth. His slowness was not failure, it was patience. And his weakness became his strength. Now, think about your own life. Think about your English journey. Maybe you feel slow. Maybe you pause too much. Maybe words don't come easily yet. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are growing. Every time you listen quietly, you are learning. Every time you repeat a sentence, you are improving. Every time you feel afraid but continue anyway, you are becoming stronger. The world moves fast, but understanding takes time. So take your time. Speak slowly. Learn deeply. Be kind to yourself. One day, you will look back and realize this silence, this struggle, this patience was shaping you. Just like it shaped a quiet boy who once sat alone in a classroom, afraid to speak, afraid to fail, and went on to change the world. Remember this: your weakness can become your strength. Thank you for learning with English SpeakCast. Keep listening, keep believing, and never be ashamed of your pace.